the assumed growth or the anticipated growth in population. So if you look at, I'm going to read this off the book because I can't see it on the map very well. But if you look at just the priority growth areas and don't include the southeast quadrant or the long-term growth areas, there is enough land there to accommodate 31,000 new residents based on low density assumptions, 46,000 residents based on higher density assumptions.
New as in addition to or total population?
New.
So 60,000?
Yes.
That's an awful lot of people trying to get to I-35 so they can go to the lake.
That's a good observation.
Yeah. And points beyond. I'm just concerned it's going to the lake.
So implementation, that's an important thing to consider. There's an annual review required by Kansas statute. It requires coordination and partnership. Funding, there are specific implementation actions that are noted in the plan. Create an implementation action agenda. That's where you just list all the steps, identify priorities, when those things are going to happen. Are they things you do in the short term, mid-term, long-term? I can tell you there are things that we'll be doing in the next 6 months to implement the plan, things that we're already discussing. Include projects in the capital improvement program, also known as the CIP. Matt will be talking about that in a minute. It's an important thing to do to implement a comprehensive plan. Create specific plans for certain areas, downtown area, the area around 191st Street and Gardner Road, which we're actually going to be doing a transportation study / plan within the next, I'd say, 3 months. Update the subdivision and zoning ordinances. Update master plans. Transportation master plan last done in 2009, or the last update was in 2009, not including there was an addendum done for the other side of the interstate. That is due for an update, I would say, soon. Acquire land for parks and other facilities. Those are just some examples. So what does all this have to do with delivering electric service? Infrastructure to support planned growth area. So you look at that land use map to get an idea. I think rather than making assumptions about how much land you need or what the growth looks like, this plan gives you some kind of reality. It doesn't mean it's going to be correct forever. It needs to be reviewed, but it kind of is a reality check in some cases. Infrastructure to support economic development. Streetscape improvements. When I say streetscape, I'm thinking trees, decorative streetlights, those types of things to strengthen identity. That's a big part of the plan, is to strengthen the community's identity. That's something we're now reviewing an economic development strategy as well, and that's something that's noted in the economic development strategy, to strengthen the community's identity, strengthen the downtown, the core of the city that attracts people, that attracts business, the right kind of business. But one of the issues with streetscape is utilities. So we would need to look at those areas where you put the streetscape or you install the streetscape, such as if you look along Main Street here, between the curb and the sidewalk, what's below the ground there? Are there overhead power lines? But I think that in some cases there could be some conflicting objectives. Trees and power lines don't mix very well. So, any questions or comments?
There was talk of looking at the streetscape for down here to remove from the bridge, the railroad bridge heading north. There's a potential removing of those overhead lines, putting them underground so that it aesthetically looks better.
Mm-hmm.
Is that being looked at all, or it was just an idea before? And I don't know exactly where it came from. I heard it early last year, want to say?
Yeah, when I first heard about it, it was, someone from, Gardner Energy staff. It was, I can't think of his first name now. McCollum.
Brandon?
Oh,
Brandon McCollum, geez. He mentioned that as something that Gardner Energy wanted to do, is to bury the power lines. And so he talked to us about, okay, how does that fit in with the city's beautification plans, and, maybe this is an opportunity to put in decorative streetlights. And so from there, we looked at doing that on Center Street, but also doing it on Main Street, the city's first 2 blocks. And then in the long term, maybe going further, taking that further. An initial phase of that was in the city administrator's proposed budget, but it didn't make the cut. That actually got cut out fairly early. So that's the status of that right now. I don't believe it's in the CIP anywhere. But this plan certainly supports looking at that, taking another look at that.
Yeah, just curious.
Well, I appreciate all the work you've done on it, and I appreciate you coming here and explaining it all to us. Very, very informative.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Move right along. New business item number 2, review of the 2015-2019 Gardner Capital Improvement Plan.
Let's see if I can get this up. Bear with me. We have a child doing an adult's job here. That's okay.
Very tall.
Yes, it's like my son.
Good evening. I'm Matthew Wolf. I'm with the Department of Administration. I'll be giving you a update on the 2015 to 2019 Capital Improvement Program. This presentation can be broken down into 4 major parts. Basically, overview of the Capital Improvement Program, 2015 to 2016 CIP highlights. Basically, what is the city doing to prepare for growth and development? And what's the current status of the Capital Improvement Program? CIP basically consists of 4 major components. It always starts with identifying community needs. We have several planning documents like the comprehensive plan, master plans to help guide us in that process. But we still rely on staff expertise to identify projects as they pop up. The crucial part of this is to identify the scope of the projects, which then can help us determine the costs. When we determine costs, it's not just the cost of doing the project. We have to see if it actually impacts ongoing budgets. So we can construct a new facility. It's going to be ongoing utility costs, janitorial costs, and we need to identify those to see how they'll impact future operations. Third component is prioritizing capital requests. Basically, after we've identified all the capital requests, we ask departments to put them into a ranking model, had several metrics, both benefit and usability metrics. The benefit metrics are based on the council's strategic priorities. That will basically produce a list that we can sort based on the scores from the model. That helped us prioritize our projects. And then a crucial component is developing financial strategies. Basically, we always have a lot more projects and community needs than we actually have money to do. That's the prioritization helps with. But we also need to find out which funding sources will be attached to which project, and if we're using cash or debt. Basically, cash projects will have a more immediate impact on fund balances, while debt, you might not see any budgetary impact for several years. And that's why multi-year forecasting is extremely important when implementing a capital improvement program. Basically, if we're doing a major facility construction, we need to see when is that annual debt payments going to actually impact the budget, and what debt do we have coming off the line. And kind of the net impact of debt coming off the line and what we're adding will then have an impact on our fund balances. Every city kind of varies in how they define capital improvement project.